Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today I want to do a video talking about the most intriguing rumor we've heard regarding the USFL XFL merger. Now, all we know is that it has officially been signed. They will be merging. The only issue is we don't really know anything else at this point. But the newest or the biggest rumors we're hearing is that there's only going to be 8 teams in this league. And we've heard rumors on what exactly those 8 teams are, and while none of them are really surprising, I want to talk about why this is bad. The fact is, I'm seeing a lot of people defend the 8 teams on a lot of social media platforms, whether it be Discord, Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, X. But the fact is you should not be defending this. You can accept it, but at the end of the day, I'm going to talk about the 5 biggest reasons why having only 8 teams is a huge risk for this league and is overall a really bad thing to have. So without further ado, let's get with the first one. And these aren't in any particular order, except two of them are pretty big, and this is one of the two. The amount of jobs lost. Yeah, it's pretty obvious this is going to be up here. Everyone talks about it, but nobody really seems to care about the numbers. This isn't any sort of exact. This is pretty much like rough estimates based on the roster size and all that. Pretty much across both leagues, currently, naturally, before they officially merge, you've got about 808 total players that are on rosters, whether it be active, inactive. That's about how many you have, as well as roughly 208 staff members. XFL teams seem to have a few more staff members, but this is a pretty good rough estimate of how many total staff members are, which is naturally over 1,000 people having jobs. This isn't even counting behind the scenes stuff like marketing or anything like that, but this is where it gets bad. If we only have 8 teams and we are generous and say that the staff size overall increases based on the average and the roster size goes up from the 50-51 that we have in the two leagues to 52, we'll be seeing 416 people actually playing and about 120-ish on the staff. What this equates to is over a 48% loss of players and 42% of staff. Over 450 people will be losing their jobs and their real potential for a future. And the most important part about this is that, especially for the players, it's not always about how talented you are, it's about how you fit on a roster. So we could see a guy like Troy Williams, who was the third best quarterback in this past USFL season, and talent-wise, you could argue is in the top 8 across both leagues, but he might not get a shot anywhere because he might not fit with anyone's scheme. Or someone like Jim Haslett, he should get an opportunity somewhere, but at the same time, are any of the teams that are going to stay actually going to get rid of their coach for him? I don't know about that. So losing all these jobs is a huge, huge detriment. And naturally, that's the whole thing about the USFLPA trying to not allow happen, and a lot of the government not wanting to see all these jobs go away, and why a lot of people hope there's more than 8 teams. Now, the second reason is going to be the talent. This is because of an argument I've seen on a different amount of places, is that the quality of play is going to go up drastically. The cream will rise to the top, as the saying is. Not really. Everyone seems to already forget that the 2022 USFL was its own league. It was the only spring football league. Yes, the XFL was on the way, but it was the only league that was currently playing. And wouldn't you know, in the 2023 XFL, we saw 2 of their 4 major award winners in the Offensive Player of the Year and Special Teams Player of the Year be guys who came from that 2022 USFL, Jordan Teamu and Darius Shepard. We saw multiple other all-USFL guys, Davin Bellamy. We saw Luis Perez, one of the best USFL quarterbacks, go on to win the title game in the XFL. So the 2022 USFL did have that high-end talent that we're now talking about this league supposedly having. Is the talent a bit better than that league? Yes. Will the quality of play be a bit better? Sure. But here's the thing. I have not heard a single person argue that the 2022 USFL had better quality of play than either the 23 XFL or USFL. That is because those players were able to go to a second year with these systems, were playing football recently. Some of those guys hadn't played since, well, the 2020 XFL. So it's not just about talent. Talent is not the only thing that makes quality of play go up. It doesn't matter how talented they are if the actual quality isn't there. And considering the fact that nobody thinks the 22 USFL had the best quality of play, it's not like we're going to see a huge increase in quality of play in this merged league, meaning that the argument that it's worth getting rid of a bunch of teams to make the games better isn't really a good one. But now we go to one of the two that are pretty similar. That's just the lack of growth. This merger was supposed to be a signal of growth in spring football, and if they only go to 8 teams, it shows absolutely zero growth. Now, the only argument is if they actually put every team in their home city. Now, what I mean by that is despite what some people think, only 4 teams in this past year were actually based in their home city. The Arlington Renegades were the only XFL team. Birmingham Stallions, Michigan Panthers, Memphis Showboats, and the USFL. Being based in your home city is not just playing games there. It's living there. It's playing there. It's practicing there. That's being based in your home city. I mean, did the Buffalo Bills call themselves the Detroit Bills because they played that one game at Ford Field last year as a home game? No. You practice, play, and live in your city. We saw that with how the Memphis Showboats, the Birmingham Stallions, Michigan Panthers were able to get involved in their community a lot more than most XFL teams were. Now, playing in their home stadium is much better than the USFL hub method, but the only way we see growth is if they actually put all their teams in their home city fully, which I doubt we're going to see. But even then, to an average viewer, an average person, someone who doesn't follow spring football religiously, you're not going to see growth even if that happens. You're going to see 2 leagues that have 16 total teams merging to only have 8. Huge loss. And that leads to the last point of the two that are pretty similar. It's just, if they only have 8 teams, it makes it feel kind of pointless. I was about to make a video about what would happen if the merger didn't go through this year. I literally had like everything ready to do it the day before the announcement came out that it was approved. The point of that video, though, was to show that them playing separately, but actually being together in a sense, was a great thing. Essentially, it's like a symbiotic relationship. The fact is, this past season, we saw 6 different games that were overlapped within an hour, meaning pretty much the entire game were fully competing with each other. And we saw multiple times that we could have had technically upwards of 1.5 million people watching a game. Instead, it's split into 2 games, and now neither looks good. We saw that really badly with the playoffs, the XFL divisional round versus USFL regular season. It was that double-edged sort of huge L's because number one, the XFL got beat by USFL regular season games, but USFL games on Fox were getting under 800,000 viewers. It was that double-edged sort of both leagues losing. And especially considering the fact they did not do any sort of cross promotion. You could not find anything on the XFL on Fox, and you couldn't find anything in the USFL on ESPN aside from like that one quick little segment about Luis Aguilar's 8 for 8 game. But all in all, they had no promotion to each other. If they just stayed separate, they could actually work together in a sense to continue this 2 different leagues that do have different feels, but you could make them work together to where, in theory, they're not going to lose as much because now they're getting helped by another league in a way of promoting. Because there's a lot of XFL people that don't watch USFL and a lot of USFL that don't watch XFL. This could have been a way to actually bridge that gap while still keeping both leagues afloat. Instead, they're merging, and we might come back in a few years and say that they should have just stayed separate. But now the last one, this is the most important reason: the fans. The most important thing about any league is the fans. It's not the players. It's not the owners. It's not money. It's the fans. Because the fans get you the money, that get you the owners, that get you the players. Or in any way like that. But it all starts with the fans. We have now seen, since the 2020 XFL, 10 teams that are being shelved, which means they might come back, but will they? We don't know. We haven't heard anything about the Bandits coming back. The Wildcats are pretty much forgotten. I bet a lot of you don't even remember the Wildcats from the XFL 2020. So we're now up to 10 teams from the 2020 XFL, the 22 USFL, and now, if this merger report is true, which 8 teams survive, that are gone. Will they come back? Maybe. Will the Breakers come back? Probably. Will the Dragons? Probably not for a while. And that's the biggest issue. If you're shelving these teams, it's when are they going to be expected back? Now, I think I've talked about it in a comment before. Really, the only way the 8 team with the 2 teams coming soon works is if you keep the Roughnecks over the Gamblers and say the Maulers and Breakers come back in 25. Because think about it. Are the Dragons really going to come back soon? Actually, think about it. I know some of you guys are real big Dragons fans. there's really no shot they come back in the next 3 years. If they bring back 2 teams next year, it's going to be teams around where everyone else is, like the Breakers, like the Guardians. The Dragons will only come back when they have a West expansion, which that probably won't be until most of the teams that got put shelved in this offseason come back. And that's a huge blow. I've seen a lot of people saying that if people are leaving the league with this or leaving spring football because of this news, that they're not real fans. That's not true at all. And that is a horrible view to have. Imagine being a fan of the Dragons. The 2020 season comes around, you go to all the games, then COVID shuts you down. But then you have a glimmer of hope come out. The 2023 XFL is bringing the Dragons back. And not only do they screw the fans over by putting multiple games on Thursday night when nobody wants to have the games, when they put multiple games going head to head with the Seattle Kraken of the NHL home games, and you still go support the Dragons, only to find out that they're being shelved. Would you really blame someone for not wanting to support the league that does that? And that's the one thing I really hate about how the spring football community, how some of it is. Calling those people not true fans is just wrong. The true fans are the ones who have lost their USFL and XFL teams and are still going to support the league. Those are the biggest fans of them all. And it's a shame that this is how it might go. Hopefully that report is not true. James Larson has said that it is not confirmed at all. And the only confirmation we really have is the kickoff date. Hopefully we get at least 10 teams. But if we have only 8, these 5 things that I discussed are why it will not be a good thing for this league. It will be a huge hurdle to climb, only having 8 teams for a merged league. But we'll see. This has been Zomfox. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. You'll be notified as soon as I upload any videos. As whenever we do hear more merger news, I'll be trying to get the first stuff out. So be on the lookout for that. Have a great night.